it's going to judge. It says, and able to judge the thoughts and intentions of the heart. So be really careful every time you say things like, oh, well, he knows my heart. Well, he does. It says it right here that he does. It says in lots of places that he does. And he's going to judge. So when you say, he knows my heart, you better understand he's going to judge whatever it is going on in your heart. Whatever that motivator or driver was behind your choice to not obey him. People don't say that phrase when they're obeying him. Do we understand that? Nobody feels the need to say, well, he knows my heart when they're doing what he said. That's the thing they say when they're not doing what he said. And they're trying to use that as a justification that, but I love him, which is their emotional justification, even though I'm not doing what he said. But he said, if you love me, you'll do what I said. Not doing what I said is not loving me. So if you're going to be set apart, how are you going to be set apart without this sword helping you to see when you're going in the wrong direction? It's going to cut right through the BS and the junk and the garbage or whatever it is you got going on, lying to yourself, and pierce through all that noise. And by the way, maybe that's why he uses somebody like me sometimes in your head, because my voice will pierce through and punch through all that stuff too. That's him speaking to you through a voice that can make that kind of noise and kind of be louder than your noise. But you have to have that cut through that junk, and it's going to judge and reveal. By judge, it's going to reveal the truth. When you go to court, what are we all hoping will happen in a court? That the truth will come out. So I'm not telling you not to have the emotions. I'm telling you to use them constructively and on purpose, and not just have them. Don't just have feelings. Because I promise you, I could even ask the question, how many of you find yourself feeling a certain way and you have no idea how that happened? Why is that? It's because you've never learned to choose what you feel. Things happen and it makes you feel. It triggers a feeling instead of you choosing how to feel. Because probably nobody ever told you can make that choice. You have that choice. You can choose to feel any way you want. Family members giving you grief, coworkers giving you grief, family, friends, whatever, children, parents, doesn't matter. They're all giving you grief because you've now stepped out from their giant pool of everybody. You're no longer in the everybody pool, you're in the set apart pool. And so if you're doing it right, then you're open and obvious in your discernibly way that you're doing it differently. It's discernible and easy and obvious. There's something different about you. And if there's one thing that this world has shown us with the racism and the prejudices and all the other things that happen with even economic stuff that goes on between the haves and have-nots, is that the world doesn't have any place of comfort for different. Okay? Handicaps, any kind of things that would make you different. The world does not have a comfortable place for different. I come up here for one reason. I'm giving you what I believe he wants you to have to be what you need to be. And that is the word of Elohim that you can use as a sword. And so that's, the word of Elohim was meant to be written down, so we have it written down, but it was only meant to fully be understood when taught. You can argue with me all you want. I see a bunch of people probably online going, having a cow right now. Look, you just understand this. If I'm wrong, then why do you have questions? Well, if I'm wrong, I've never met somebody without questions about their word, about the scripture. If it's not meant to be taught, then why can't you read it and understand it without help? I don't do the Peshat, Remez, Drash, and Sod in my teachings, that 4 levels, but in the teachings, I hope to accomplish 4 levels of things. I want you to understand what's being taught. So I teach it, and I use different examples and take different paths to try to make sure that everybody can possibly understand what I'm saying. Secondly, I want you to do what's being taught. So you should understand it well enough that you now can do it. And you know what to do, where to do it, when to do it, how to do everything. Then thirdly, I want you to be able to defend what you're doing, which means I want you to be able to say, this is where it says this, and this is this, and they throw all these typical Paul verses at you. You should know how to answer them, because if those are verses that you need to know, I put them in the teaching, so that you know what to say and how to answer them. And then fourthly, at that highest level of depth of understanding, you're walking it out, you understand it, you're doing it, you're able to defend it, and then, and only then, can you teach it. I don't want you thinking about this like other parts of the armor. The other parts of the armor are to protect you from outside stuff coming in. Right? The shield's going to block things. The helmet's going to block things. The breastplate's going to block. Okay, these things are all going to help protect you in some way. The sword's a little different. Okay, the sword is going to protect you from just heading down the wrong path because it's going to lay you bare and the Father's going to see it and do something about it and get your attention. That helps protect you. If there was no accountability, which is what it's talking about here, it totally says it's the eyes of him with whom is our accountability, our account. He is watching everything you do, doesn't miss a thing, not a thought, not an emotion, not an action. And he's going to lay that all bare if you're going to say, I want this relationship. This is a sword that Yeshua has. We're supposed to become Yeshua-like. Okay, so out of his mouth comes this two-edged sword. So now we're not necessarily supposed to have it come out of our mouth. We're supposed to then take the sword that he's giving us from his mouth that we can now have it and wield it. So what comes out of his mouth? The utterances of Elohim. Okay, we started off with that. A sword pierces and cuts through. The Spirit, which is the word of Elohim, is the fullness of the intent of Elohim expressed through his speaking, his utterances, his words, his voice. And then we're supposed to take that sword, and then we can wield the sword. Not that it's supposed to be coming out of your mouth. It's coming out of his mouth, and then it's available to us to now have as a weapon of our armor. We're not talking about trying to check the labels on your food to see if it has some symbol that it was offered to Molech or something. What does eating metaphorically point to? Teachings. Okay? You're eating those things from idols. Ooh, okay? And that's the problem. You're getting your positional, doctrinal stuff from a wrong source. He said, so they caused a stumbling block to the children of Israel by getting them to take in and eat that which was coming from idols. There were offerings of the idols. And of course, the whoring. And the whoring is not just the physical sexual stuff. I'm going to say that the whoring also has to do with your emotional desire to be in the world, to interact with the world. Because isn't that what whoring is? You physically want to interact with somebody that you shouldn't. Out of his mouth goes a sharp sword, that with it he's going to smite the nations. He's not just going to go out there and just kill everybody because they weren't doing Torah. Look at the rest of the verse. He's going to be shepherding them and using the word as the rod of iron to smack them around and saying, you're not doing it right, fix it. Okay? So he's not just going to go out there and say, well, it's too bad you didn't understand Torah, I'm going to kill you now. He says he's going to shepherd them. And he's going to smite. He's going to smack people pretty hard. The ones who get smacked the hardest are the ones that should have known better. He's merciful. Mercy means that he's not going to just smack someone who didn't know. What would be the righteous judgment in that? Oh, but he's not going to have any mercy for you who should have known. He's going to smack you hard. Okay? Because he showed you. He opened your eyes. He opened your ears. He popped your bubble. You should know, then you should know.